It's a sad day when we find out that Batman is dead. Or so we think in The Man Who Killed Batman. We're talking about it right now. Hello friends, welcome back to the show, and welcome new friends who are tuning in for the first time. Thank you for joining us. I'm excited to have you here because this is the show where we talk about all things Batman. And if you're like me and grew up on Batman the Animated Series and enjoy Batman today because of it, well then this is the show for you. This is a show where we break down each and every episode of Batman the Animated Series from the perspective of a mature adult looking back on it 25 years later. So join us today as we talk about The Man Who Killed Batman, which originally aired on February 1st, 1993. Now this episode starts off right. The title card, the music, the rain, the film noir angles, all of this shrouded in a mystery of what is this man running from? It's all the things that I love about Batman the Animated Series right there in the first few seconds of the episode. But we'll get into all that right after we do our 60-second Joker Bomb rundown of the episode. As I mentioned, this episode starts off with a man running through the rain, and it turns out that he's heading to Rupert Thorne as he's trying to ask for protection because it turns out that this is Sid the Squid, the man who killed Batman. He goes back and tells the story of how this all happened, and it turns out that he was working his way up through the rackets and trying to make a name for himself, and he gets selected for this drug run as the lookout, and Batman comes in, swoops in, and there's this little scuffle on top of the roof, and Sid accidentally knocks Batman off, and then there's an explosion, so they assume that Batman's dead. He is now the toughest man in Gotham, and he gets into a fight for people that are trying to challenge him, and then the Joker finds out that he is the man who killed Batman, so he sends for him with Harley Quinn and brings him back and mourns the loss of Batman after he finds out that he's not coming to this heist after all as a proof that he is truly dead. So he has a funeral, but he wants to do Sid in because Joker wanted to be the one to kill Batman, so he locks him in a coffin, and then the coffin ends up on the shore somewhere, and Sid goes, "Oh, I escaped," and then he is now trying to run from the Joker, and that's why he came to Rupert Thorne to ask for Rupert Thorne to send him away, and then Batman swoops in and goes, "Oh, I just acted like I was dead," and takes out Rupert Thorne and explains to Sidney that he was just following him along and swooped away at the last minute and didn't have the explosion harm him after all, but Sidney's still in trouble after all the trouble that he's caused. It's no point in even looking at it.
Well, glad to be of service. See ya.
I love how this episode starts off. I really do. I just got excited as soon as I saw it. The rain, all the feels of the film noir and the dark cartoon. I remember being a kid watching this show, and it was episodes like this that really remind me of what it was that I loved about this show so much, is because it wasn't just Looney Tunes and DuckTales and bright, colorful, happy cartoons, which I was a fan of those, don't get me wrong, but it was dark, and it was moody, and it was action, and it was adventure, and it was mystery, and it was all these wonderful things. As soon as this episode started, I just got a big grin on my face because this truly is those elements all smashed together in that first 30 seconds. And I could honestly watch that over and over again.
Please, I have to see Mr. Thorne.
A lot of people are kind of down on this episode as I went through and looked at some people's comments about this. Some of the complaints is that it's a weak story, and how did this guy get a one-up on Batman and this weasel, and all the greatest villains have tried to stop. You know, a lot of that kind of conversation. But it's a fun episode, and it has a lot of great elements in it. Sidney himself is a really cool character, which is, as soon as he started talking, it reminded me that is, in fact...
This is Max Headroom.
But no, he's a great character. That kind of weasel that just wants to make a name for himself and very unassuming is a neat character. And truly, the performance of this character by Max Headroom is incredible. It encapsulates this character really well.
I didn't. Oh, Mr. Thorne, I'm in big trouble.
And he reminds me a lot of Charlie, which was interesting because Joker also sends for this guy. There's something about the Joker and these weak characters that he surrounds himself with.
Please, allow me the honor of shaking hands with the man who did the impossible.
And also, I like the device. They've done this several times in the show so far, where it kind of starts at the end. That in itself sets itself up for this mystery, because we don't know why this is happening. We don't know the truth of whether Batman's alive or dead at the end. I mean, obviously, we know he's not dead. It's still his show. But it creates that mystery, and that's a great element.
Tell me what's on your mind.
Well, for a while now, I've been trying to move my way up in the rackets.
And truthfully, it wasn't
ago,
until
my pal
Harley Quinn, or
Eddie G
Harleen Quinzel, walked in, which this might be the first time that she used the name Harleen Quinzel, her alter ego, or her origin name. Well, I don't think that they've done the origin of Harley Quinn yet in the series up to now, to where we're in continuity-wise, where we're at in airing order. But in any of the case, I didn't know until she walked in that the Joker was in this episode. And I know he plays a kind of a big part in this, but I completely forgot. What I remembered about this episode was Sid the Squid and him killing Batman supposedly, but that whole chunk of where the Joker was, I honestly forgot about.
Any questions, Murph?
No, sir.
Good man.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, there's also a joke when Harley Quinn first comes in that she makes to Bullock that I never caught when I was younger.
I think I served you a subpoena once. It was a small subpoena.
I mean, this is a kid's show. And I hate to say it, I think it says something that the parts of the show that I remember were the beginning, the beginning and the end. The part where Sid supposedly kills Batman, and then Batman revealing himself as Rupert Thorne. I remembered all that. That chunk with the Joker, I didn't remember. And truthfully, when I was watching it back this time, when they're doing the funeral and Joker's going on and on and on, giving the eulogy, I kind of tuned out for a minute.
For it was the Batman who made me the happy soul I am today. How I agonized over the perfect way to thank him for that. Perhaps with a cyanide pie in the face.
I don't know, it just wasn't that interesting. I thought Sid was a much more interesting character in this episode than what the Joker was doing. Although they do establish a really kind of key element to the Joker, and that is that this is all a game to him.
There's a certain rhythm to these things. I cause trouble, he shows up. We have some laughs and the game starts all over again.
And he wants to be the one to kill Batman or choose to kill Batman. I don't think he ever would if he was given the chance. And the Joker being upset with Sid because he killed Batman before the Joker was able to.
Only now, thanks to you, I have this terrible feeling he's really not coming.
Look at all the pretties.
Put them back, Harley.
It was important to be in there, and the Joker certainly played a good role in this, but it was just kind of forgettable. I just really liked the character as Sid. Another spinoff, Sid the Squid. I'm just coming up with spinoffs left and right. I'm just coming at you.
Sydney, 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 Sydney. And that night, for 1 minute, all my dreams came true.
And I will agree with some of the people that really strongly dislike this episode, that it is kind of a weak resolution to this. That, you know, Batman in the last few minutes...
I swung away before the gas tank exploded.
And the fact that he did get... that Sid did get an upper hand and swung around that clothes pole and did actually hit Batman, although maybe Batman wasn't anticipating him to be... I don't know. There are some weak elements to that. But this is one of those episodes that Batman's not in a lot because he's presumably dead. I think it still holds up. It's still strong despite the fact that he's not in there, even though some of the devices of this episode are a little weak. I'll give you that.
Sorry, it was an accident. Really? You okay?
Back off.
Yes, sir.
So when it comes time to rank this episode, it truly ranked higher than I thought it would. And it is certainly not the best episode. It's certainly not top 10 material. It certainly doesn't stack up to some of the great episodes of the series. But when you look at it from the perspective of entertainment, this is a really entertaining episode. And it was fun. It was an enjoyable episode to watch. For those reasons, I ended up placing it at the number 23 slot, which actually was a little higher than I thought it would go, but I placed it just above On Leather Wings, which also is a really well animated film noir kind of structured episode, but I kind of enjoyed this story a little bit more. Maybe it was a better story for On Leather Wings, but this was just, it was fun. Sid's a great character, and I think it was a neat structure to kind of play the mystery and go back and retell that. But it did fall just below Vendetta, just because that episode truly was really surprising, and I thought that the story of Croc being told in that was great.
No one's that lucky or stupid.
Yes, I am. Honest.
So let me know, am I missing something? Maybe I'm being too favorable about this episode because of some of the fun elements, but is there aspects of this episode that I'm missing as to why people don't like this episode as much as they do? Or do you agree with me? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this episode, if you would be so kind to hit the thumbs up like button. And if you enjoyed the episodes that you're seeing, just hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss anything. Because I'm going to be back tomorrow with the episode Zatanna on February 2nd. Back-to-back episodes once again. So I look forward to seeing you then. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'm Andy Knode, and I'll see you soon.